Probably most people weren't. Early part of last year, when Kit Bond announced he was going to retire, and Roy Blunt announced he was going to run for Kit's seat, a protege of former Senator John Danforth announced that he was going to get into the race. Spent about 2 months as a declared candidate, beating stuff out of Roy Blunt. So of course, as you can imagine, some of the party hierarchy was not real happy because I will assure you, Robin Carnahan, who comes into my office every year to talk about her, Robin Carnahan is a real deal. She is smooth, she is professional, she is a top-tier candidate. So Roy has, whether you like Roy or not, Roy has his hands full with Robin. Anyway, the guy got out of the race, which I think makes some sense. Unfortunately, he got into the auditor's race. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So yeah, this is a John Danforth protege who is running for auditor. His background, he has a Harvard law degree. Started in the federal level at the United Nations and did some stuff, Secretary of State stuff. So it's a challenge.
Who would you likely face in November?
With the current auditor, Susan Monty, Democrat, she probably will run again, although we heard the rumor, and that place is a great rumor mill. We heard last year in the halls that the auditor was not going to run again. I mean, that's very possible. I tell people the way this works is, and neither party wants a primary, it's messy, you waste a lot of money and all that. If Susan Monty is not going to run again, you won't know until the last day of filing. One of the tricks is Susan Monty will file the first day of office. Everyone, all the Democrats support her, yay, yay, yay. On the last day of filing, she will draw her name and somebody else will put her name on. Now, I'm not saying that will happen, but on March 31st, I can answer that question if Susan Monty is running for auditor. Yes, sir.
If, as auditor, if you find that a department, their performance is deficient or there's wasteful spending, how then do you get that before the legislature to the next vote on the next budget? And how to get it before the people?
Right. State audits are a public document. You can go to the auditor's office and you can read these on the web. They are actually published. I get copies of every audit because of my position. But again, the auditor can't force change. But remember I talked earlier about the legislature, the power of the legislature. Well, the auditor's budget comes before the Chairman of the House Budget Committee. And so the legislature does have the power to force that bureaucracy to make a change. If the auditor's office finds a program that's just an absolute waste of money, we, the legislature, can't get that information because the departments aren't going to tell us. Remember the example of 10? They have to have it all. But having someone in an auditor's office who can uncover something like that, turn it over to the legislature, they can force a change. And they have the information that they need to make an informed decision and defend it, because I'm sure the bureaucracy will not take this line down. There'll be a fight. We're about to hurt senior citizens, we're about to hurt children, we're about to hurt the disabled, we're about to hurt anybody they want us to hurt so that they can protect their budget. So the legislature has to have the information so they can defend what they're about to do. And having served in 8 years, I have still have a lot of good friends in the legislature, and I will use that knowledge and those relationships and say, here, future budget chairman, here's some information that you might want to look into to cut the department. And I think they will. Yes, sir.
I don't really hear much about Monty. What has she done, and how do you plan on taking on an incumbent auditor?
Yes, the good news for me is Susan Monty is not Claire McCaskill. And that's her. Claire McCaskill, I mean, she is sharp, she's very smooth, she's very articulate, she's very telegenic, she can think on her feet. Susan Monty, and Claire politicized the office. She did a very good job of doing that. Susan Monty has not really done much of that. She's really off the radar screen, and that's one of her weaknesses. I talked about the reasons people vote. A lot of times they'll vote for the devil they know versus the devil they don't know. Right? If Robin Carnahan was running against me, I lose going away. If I can have more money than Robin, I lose. If I run against Roy Blunt and I have more money than Roy, I lose because nobody knows me, but people, they recognize that name. Unfortunately for Susan Monty, most people will not recognize that name on the ballot. So she, unlike Claire McCaskill, she doesn't have one of the keys that I believe to win a race, and that's name recognition. So what has she done? Not much. As of late, a lot of audits are starting to come out. She's, I think, kind of feeling the pressure or the heat that I better get about my business and let the people of the state know I'm doing my job. But again, she's just not getting the traction that Claire McCaskill did and does. So And so if it's me, if I win the primary, that's a good thing for me.
One last question.
I have a question. You talked about constitutional amendments. Several states are proposing amendments that are similar.
Yes.
What's the rumor, what's the feel about a constitutional convention?
We don't want, in fact, an amendment to clarify that what we are, the state legislature, what we're not asking for is to open up the Constitution and let Congress decide what changes.
Exactly.
I mean, nobody at either end of the spectrum or anywhere in between wants that because nobody trusts Congress. What we're asking for is what happened with the first 12, which 10 were approved, became the Bill of Rights, to put the issue to the states.
Yes.
Let the states decide. That's what this resolution was about. Now, some people say, well, Congress doesn't have to do that. I said, no, you don't understand. Congress works with the states.
That's right.
Congress is not the power, it's the state legislature is the powerful group, and we're upside down. And I'm happy to have that over the legislature, but I'd be happy to have that fight with Congress if we actually had enough states to call for this constitutional convention, and Congress said, no, we're not interested. Oh, bring it on. I'm ready for that fight.
It's going to happen one other time.
I agree. So, but will it happen? Not anytime soon, but I told some colleagues today, in fact, the press asked about this resolution that passed today. The resolution said, stop to the Fed, stop sending us unfunded mandates. I said, do you think this is really going to happen? Chances are no. But if we, the elected officials of the state, do not communicate to our federal government, we have nobody to blame but ourselves for not saying, wait, we do not like what is going on. We want you to make a change. So at least we're taking the first step and the right step. I hope it's successful, but the fight is not going away. It may take years, but the fight's still going to be there. Yes, sir.
I'm going to make this the final question now. I'm kind of declare personal privilege here, but I'm trying not to give a speech, but I want you to follow up on what you said, because I've been struggling with this for quite some time as we watch every night on the news about California and Illinois and these other states that just flat out don't have any money. And of course we know that they've made some stupid statewide mistakes that cause themselves to be somewhat in that position. But I think the fact is unavoidable that most of their problem comes from unfunded mandates. You've referenced it and so forth. So having said what you said, and I endorse that, I heartily applaud that concept, but in reality, what has to happen? I mean, you can do all the resolutions you want. What has to happen to get that enough traction that actually maybe cause something to change?
And you're absolutely right in that this, unlike the previous resolution that called on Congress to take action to give the states the opportunity to change the Constitution, this calls on Congress to stop taking action. So theoretically, they can stop anytime they want. My opinion is, and tell us to Krause, what do you think is the most important thing to an elected official? What is the one thing they think about? Re-election. No one runs for office, even me. The time, the effort, the abuse you take, and no one runs for office to lose. Anybody ever know anyone who's run to lose? I don't.
Yeah, well,
Well, no one wants to run to lose. If